Hi guys, Amy here. Thanks for stopping by. Today's video features metallic watercolor paints and some of the brand new split stencils from A Colorful Life Designs June release. In the beginning here, I'm just going to show you some of the items that I'm using today. We have the new split ornament stencil here. As you can see, the masking cutout pieces are also included when you purchase these, which is a really nice feature of these stencils. This is a layered split stencil. This is the layered split frond stencil. You can see it has the two layers and then also the insert masking piece should you want to use that. I'm showing you here Pixie Spray. I did actually use that on all of the stencils that you'll see featured here today. It's a must-have for delicate stencils because it really helps you keep them in place while you're working with them. I was just showing you how I spray it on the back and then you let it get tacky for about a minute or so before you use it. This is the Stonehenge black watercolor paper. I've been watching Christina Werner use it for probably a couple years now. And what did me in was I saw Therese at Lost in Paper use it with some metallic watercolors, and that was it. I had to buy it. I got the 9x12 version so that you could get 4 A2 panels out of it, out of each sheet. These are some metallic watercolor paints and my brushes, and I'll have all the items listed in the video details as well, should you be interested in all of those. This is my swatch sheet. I have it on black and white to see the different look that you can achieve. Now I'm just going to start off with the process. It's pretty straightforward. Mary Kay at A Colorful Life Design, she does put a little name in the lower left corner, which makes it easier, especially for layered stencils, so you know that you're on the right side of the stencil. It's just another convenient feature of her stencils. You'll see here to wet my palette, I actually used some of my aqua brushes or water brushes from Arteza. They're convenient. It just allows me to put a little bit of water in there without having to get my brush dirty. And as you can see, I'm just going to start watercoloring like normal with these metallic paints. They don't function exactly like regular watercolors. They don't tend to blend together as much. So I didn't spend too much time with blending, but I did just kind of add the color in the rows that I wanted, cleaning in between and kind of drying it off, trying to get the right level of wetness for the paint, which I will admit is a bit of a learning curve with these. You'll see even later on in the video, I got a little bit more comfortable with the thickness of the paint that tended to work best with these delicate stencils. So moving on into the orange color, I have quite a bit of water on that stencil, so I'm definitely going to want to remove that. At this point, I just work through the basic colors of the rainbow into the green, blue, and purple. It's kind of a limited metallic palette, but since they don't really blend together, I just kind of stuck with the basic colors and didn't try and create any, in-between colors of the rainbow like you can do sometimes with certain paints. But this blue and purple on the palette are just stunning. Those are definitely some of my favorites. So as I work through to the bottom here, I kind of just give it a minute to sit. I don't let it fully dry, but I do want to give it a chance to really soak into the paper. You'll see I use some paper towel to remove some excess. I think this is kind of an important step because especially with these little delicate bits, when you start to pull it back, when the Pixie Spray sticks a little bit, it can kind of fling or splatter that extra paint around. So that's why you'll see me try and carefully get it off the stencil without getting it off of the panel itself. So here you'll see the reveal. I just try and hold on to the parts of the unpainted watercolor paper as to not smudge anything further, but voila, isn't that pretty? I just love the rainbow look. That was something I definitely had in mind when I got the stencil. I wanted to do this technique. You'll see I have a little bit of a a bit where it seeped under the stencil. Just like other watercolors, you can kind of fix them up a little bit with your brush. So I just used my water brush pen there to get it wet and a paper towel, and it kind of just took it right out. I could have cleaned up those other messy edges as well, but I don't mind. It looks handmade. Now this one is gorgeous. This one especially looks kind of cool the more distressed it looked, in my opinion. But this is the new Split Ornament Stencil. I just think it is so neat. It is got such delicate little features in it that it's surprising. Oh, sorry, my big head donked the camera there. Anyway, you'll see I'm kind of separating the two little stripes. They kind of stuck together with the Pixie Spray, so I was just kind of adjusting those to make sure they were separated, make sure everything's adhered down. And then I just kind of choose the color palette I want to use for this card. I wanted to go cool with this one, so blues and greens and silvers. So again, I'm using my water brush pen just to kind of reactivate the little paints. They were getting dry. And just kind of go at a diagonal on this one. You want to be mindful to not oversaturate, but take the time to get in all those little nooks and crannies, because it just looks so impressive when you actually take the stencil off. It's really neat how much detail it actually retains. So you'll see I'm just kind of working the tip of the brush into these little splits on the stencil. I just think these stencils are so innovative and neat, just the contrasting positive and negative spaces on it. And then just the fact that she includes the masks, you could really take it to the next level and get creative with whatever mediums you want to use. You can see that blue is very, very vibrant when you turn it towards the light. I'm just adding some silver into the bottom. And we'll do some green on the top. I think it was at this point that I started to realize it gets almost milky when it's too wet. I don't know if it's the shimmer component in the paint, but it tends to really pool up along the edges of the stencil. And I've noticed that in other projects where I've worked with it. So that's where I really wanted to come in and try and wipe off that excess, and even use the wet brush to kind of get the extra little bits off. You'll see me do that on a later panel. Here I'm actually just building it up. I wanted the color to be a little bit more rich, and just like regular watercolors, you can let it dry a little bit and kind of build on the color just to give it a little bit more intensity. So that's what I was doing here, is just kind of building up the color, and kind of getting it to stand out a little bit more against the black. See, I've got a lot of liquid here in those little nooks and crannies, so I think I should have used the wet brush to kind of go in and sop a little more of that up, but I figured that out by the last panel, so you'll see a little bit better of a result. Oh, here we go. I'm starting to try and get some of the extra water off of there. But this one especially, it's got a lot of flingage. It flings the little bits when you try and peel it off. So, but thankfully this particular design, like I said, I think looks really good with the distressed look. And I'll show you some finished cards at the end that I made with some other panels. Isn't that awesome? I just love how that turned out. So neat. Alright, now this is another new one from the June release. This is called Split Sprigs, and this one is super delicate. I really wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, so I saved that for last, and I made sure to spray it really good with Pixie Spray, and took the time to push all the little leaves down onto the paper, because I really wanted to make sure nothing got under there to kind of mess up the design. So we got that attached, and same as all the other ones. Just gonna start applying the color. Now this was the panel where I was much more aware of the milkiness because there's so many little fine details on this one. I didn't want it to pool up and get too milky around the edges. So this is where you'll see that I really kind of took the time to be aware of how much water and how thick the paint was. And you'll see I kind of go back in at different levels to add and intensify the color, but also to kind of clean off my brush and then just have it damp so that it can kind of sop up the excess. But this one, same thing, you want to use the point tip of your watercolor brush and just really get in all those little nooks and crannies, because those details are just stunning when you remove for the big reveal. So yeah, here you can see I'm kind of lifting up some of the extra water that was pooling on the mylar of the stencil. Isn't that gorgeous? Blue and purple. Can't get any better than that, right? Anyway, use some paper towel to sop it up. Here I'm showing you the palette itself to try and give you an idea of the wetness on the brush. I'm trying to really get the paint relatively thick to kind of build up that color, but also to have it not be too oversaturated, I guess. So I'm just putting on that extra layer of the purple and then into the blue, really mindful of the little areas around the branches, just trying to capture all that beautiful little detail in the stencil. So as you can see with this one especially, the importance of the Pixie Spray. It would be Hot Mess Express if we didn't have something like that holding it down so firmly against the watercolor paper. There's that stunning blue again. It's just so gorgeous, especially in contrast with the black. I just love how this turned out. So I'm just kind of working the colors next to each other, and then again I'm just showing you here how I kind of cleaned off the brush and really squeezed it off. I just basically want it damp at this point, and I'm just kind of moving it around, trying to get rid of those little pools of water that are wanting to stick around the different leaves. So just to even out the paint and also get rid of any of that excess water, and then a final sop it up with the paper towel, and we'll let it sit for a minute and then slowly try and reveal the stencil without splattering too much. So here we go. It's exciting. I wasn't sure. I hadn't tried this technique with this particular stencil, so I really wasn't sure how it was going to go. Yay, it worked. So I think taking that extra step to get rid of that extra moisture on the stencil itself and in the areas is really what it takes with those little delicate stencils. So here I'm just going to show you the 3 completed panels. They're not fully dry here, but those first couple are getting pretty close at this point. So you can really see when the light hits it how stunning they are. I'm really pleased with how they turned out. But can you believe all that detail it retained? It's just crazy to me. I love it. And there she is, star of the show. She's so pretty. Anyway, there are those 3. And then I wanted to share with you 4 cards that I did beforehand and completed, so you can get some inspiration there. Use some simple strips from Tailored Expressions and some dies from the lovely Kathy Zilski at Simon Says Stamp. You can see these here. Those warm colors, just so stunning. That would be really pretty for a fall card. This one you can see all that pooling. I think I would really be more careful with the extra water if I try it again with that. That's the Split Rose stencil from last month's release. And then the one on the far end with the warm colors, that's actually the Split Fern. So there's some finished cards. I hope you enjoyed this. All the items will be listed in the details. And there's some more videos if you want some more inspiration. I would love if you hit like and subscribe to my channel, and have an awesome day.